Hello and welcome to another episode of Dadas Show, coming to you from Fertility Point Parklands here in Nairobi. I'm your host, Ashiko Mbune. Now, as our name suggests, Dadas Show aspires to promote the spirit of sisterhood and solidarity amongst Kenyan women. And we do this by creating an open and a safe platform for women to discuss issues pertaining to their health and well-being, their families, their careers, and anything that affects them in one way or another. We also pride ourselves in having the conversations that matter, not only to women, but to our communities at large. Today's conversation is very personal and incredibly important. We are talking about infertility, a name that carries a lot of pain, misunderstanding, and often judgment from a society that equates motherhood to womanhood. But infertility is not failure. Infertility is a medical condition, a human experience, one which should be treated with a lot of compassion, care, and conversation. So on today's conversation, we are joined by two very powerful voices. One is definitely a leading fertility expert who is going to help us unpack this particular infertility through science and, of course, through the solutions and the treatments that have been put in place. Secondly, we've got an incredibly brave lady who is going to share with us her journey, a journey that is filled with heartbreak, hope, and, of course, a lot of resilience. So this is definitely a safe space. We're not here to whisper about infertility, but we're here to name it, understand it, and, of course, support and walk the journey with those who are walking this very rough road. So as always, we welcome you at home to take part in this and any other conversation that we may have across all social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. You can also reach us directly on Facebook at Dadas Show KBC. If you wish to reach me directly, you can reach me across all social media platforms at Ashiko the host. Now, before we get into today's conversation, where we are hoping to end the stigma on infertility by learning more about this condition, then let's take a look at the following feature.
Globally, over 186 million people live with infertility. In Kenya, it is estimated that 1 in 4 couples face challenges conceiving, yet so many suffer in silence. This Infertility Awareness Month, we are breaking the silence. We are talking about IVF, surrogacy, miscarriage, male infertility, and the emotional toll that often goes unseen. Infertility is not a shameful secret. It is a medical condition and it's more common than you think. With awareness, support, and access to care, there is hope. Because behind every statistic is a story of heartbreak, resilience, and sometimes a miracle. Let's create safe spaces. Let's listen without judgment. Let's walk with those still hoping. Infertility is real. So is your strength. For Dadas Show, my name is Miriam Odanga.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, today's conversation is on the silent struggles. We are breaking the infertility stigma. And as I mentioned, I am joined by a panel of experts who are through professional and actually through lived experience, who are going to talk to us, share with us, so that every single lady or a lady who is going through what perhaps my wonderful panelists went through is going to get some hope so that she can carry on. Right next to me, I've got Dr. Rajesh Chaudhary, who is a fertility specialist, a leading fertility specialist, FYI. And then next, we've got Madam Wangeshi Kihara, who is a woman health advocate. Karibu sana. I'm so privileged to have both of you. We get to see both sides. We've got the technical and the human side. Of course, I cannot fail to acknowledge my wonderful audience who join us as we have conversations on what is affecting Kenyan women and actually the general population at large. I also want to appreciate you at home for joining us every single Sunday as we learn and grow and support each other through conversation. So let's just start from the basic, Dr. Chaudhary. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do.
Yeah. Thank you for having me in your Dadas Show. I'm Dr. Rajesh Chaudhary. I am a gynecologist and a fertility consultant. I've been in this practice for last 13 years after my fellowship in reproductive medicine. So I was there in India and Nepal for before I came in Kenya in 2021.
Yes.
So it's been 4 years working here at Fertility Point.
Yes.
And to my credit, it's been more than 5,000 IVF babies in the last 13 years of my practice. And in Kenya, it's been more than, I think, more than 1,500 IVF babies so far.
So you're definitely playing your role in ensuring that parenthood continues and couples get babies, mothers get babies. So thank you so much for that. Let me jump straight to you, Wangeshi, so that we can just put everything in context. Thank you so much for being here with us. Could you walk us through your journey, with infertility till date?
I first started trying to have a baby, I think in 2014 or 2015, but I didn't end up getting pregnant until 2016. I got pregnant, I think, sometime in 2015, but I think I was too young to actually understand what had happened, which I later, much later, found out I had a miscarriage, but I didn't know, because it was a very early miscarriage. It's actually something I've never talked about. So I would say the first child was actually quite hard because it also took very long, and I also felt like I was very ready to have a baby. And in my naive mind, you get pregnant when you want to get a baby.
Of course.
That's what we're told. Play with boys and you'll get pregnant. So now when I'm wanting to have a baby and they play with boys and get pregnant is not happening, it really did not make sense to me because it did not match the expectation of life that I had. One thing that I usually experience with a lot of moms, because now I experience hundreds of mothers a year, it's that every period is so painful, yet every period comes with so much hope. So the first time you try, you get a period, you cry, and then you're like, okay, fine, it's this month. And then the next period comes, and then you cry again, and you're so devastated. And then before you know it, it's 6 months, and before you know it, it's 9 months, and before you know it, it's a year. And you're like, this was not supposed to work this way, because that's not what we were told in school. We were told in school, when you want to get pregnant, you will get pregnant. So I really was not prepared. And I think as a society, I don't know now about the younger girls, but for us women who are now middle-aged, we were not prepared for the eventualities in life. But I also really can't blame our mothers because they didn't really go through what we went through, or rather a large number of them didn't go through infertility the way a bigger number is going through infertility with our generation. So yeah, and then I thank God that I didn't go through a lot of stigma from the people around me. Maybe because I didn't share I was trying to get pregnant, but I also didn't feel a lot of societal pressure at that time. But it wasn't easy. Emotionally, it wasn't easy on me. It wasn't easy mentally. It wasn't easy on my relationship. It wasn't easy, even in terms of just daily performance. And then you also start wondering, am I broken? Is there something wrong with me? Am I not a woman enough? Am I, like you start owning the blame and the shame of this period. And the period is supposed to be something that's such a powerful thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy that you're actually able to join us, because you're putting a face to a discussion that should be had in very many corridors when we're talking about infertility. It's always carried as a taboo, and people will always talk about it behind closed doors. And of course, like we mentioned, it is often equated to a woman's worth and to womanhood. So I'm so happy that you're here with us. You're sharing with us. You're saying, yes, this happened to me, but I survived. I'm still here, Thank you so much for that. I want to go back to you, Dr. Rajesh. We're talking infertility, but like we said, it's one of those conditions, it's something that is often misunderstood. But what is the clinical definition of infertility? Explain to us in layman's terms.
So in layman's terms, as he has mentioned, when she wanted to get pregnant and she couldn't, that is infertility. When someone wants to be pregnant and she's not able to get pregnant. But in medical term, we define it as when it is like medical condition where a woman is not able to achieve pregnancy after a year of unprotected and regular intercourse. So this is for the woman who are below 35 years. We give a time, they need to give a time for 1 year to achieve the pregnancy. And if there is any difficulty in getting the pregnancy, then it is infertility. For a woman who are above 35, it should be limited to 6 months of try. And that is then they should start seeking a medical consultation for the infertility. She should understand that now she is going through the infertility if she is not able to achieve pregnancy. But if she has already a known of knowing that she has medical conditions like endometriosis or fibroid or any medical condition that can lead to infertility beforehand, then even that 1 year time period is not warranted there. So at that time she should go to medical help as soon as she wants to get pregnant.
Okay. Thank you so much for defining that. So if you're a lady and you're trying for more than a year below 35, then maybe you need to, and nothing is happening, maybe you need to definitely see a gynecologist. So let's, there's a lot of, Wangashi, this is for you, there's a lot of cultural pressure around motherhood in Kenya. And like you're saying, we were taught that you want to get pregnant, you get pregnant. You play around with boys, you get pregnant. So it is something that was definitely expected of most women. How did this affect you personally, especially, since for the duration that you were still trying and nothing was coming about?
I think before we get to that, I would also like to mention that I have PCOS.
Yes.
And I feel like there's not enough information
about PCOS,
or about, okay, I don't know about the others, but for PCOS, there's definitely not enough information. And I really feel like the medical fraternity failed me. When I think back, at 18 or 19, I was told I had cysts.
Yes.
So that doctor had the responsibility of telling me what that meant. That doctor had the responsibility of telling me how to manage my life, how to manage myself, how that affects my life in terms of, because PCOS is not just a fertility issue, but a lot of doctors make it seem like a fertility issue, or rather only a fertility issue, but PCOS is actually, like it affects your whole life. It affects your heart, it affects your lung, like it affects so many things about your life, but I wasn't told that at 18. So by the time I'm finding out at 31 or 31 that I have PCOS, it had been so many years of living like a 20-year-old, of eating badly, of gaining weight without understanding that what's happening to me. I gained about 30 or 40 kilos in 2 or 3 years. Like a lot had already happened. So now by the time this time that I'm trying to have a child, I feel like a lot should have happened between,
of course,
he has a lot to say, between 18 and 30.
Yes.
Anyway, now the cultural pressure of motherhood, there's first pressure with age, a lot of pressure as age approaches. And there's a lot of pressure that we are put, or rather I think we put upon ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember very well when I was about to graduate or just graduated from uni, I was I think 24, and my cousin told me, I can say it in Swahili.
Yes, you can.
Ati, shishi, unafika 25 na bado hujapata bona na watoto. Mimi nikifika 25 nitakuwa na watoto wawili. I was 24, she was 19 or 18. Yeah. But you see, at 18, that was already the thing that she had in her mind, that is what is supposed to happen by 25. So as 30 approached, there's the thing of, hiya, even today when I was doing my makeup, the girls in the salon, that was a conversation. Oh my God, I'm getting to 30 and I don't have someone and I haven't gotten a child. So there's that expectation. It's like an expiry date, and it really is not an expiry date, especially at 30. Of course, at 40, science tells us something different. But at 30, it's really not. There's no big rush. There's no, oh my God, my life is coming apart. But that's what we feel at that point. So now, he's a 29-year-old, almost getting to 30. I really don't know better. I really had not gotten into the space, into the professional space I am now. So I really don't know better. I just know that I'm turning 30, I don't have a baby, I'm seeing my period every month, I'm having unprotected sex, but it's not working. So there was a lot of panic. And then of course there's the aunties, hey bado,
umepangaje?
Yeah, but I really thank God for my mom or for my parents, because they never really put pressure on me. But the larger community, and also already what is ingrained in your mind from the time you're a child, really plays into your psyche. And I would really love to encourage the mothers and the aunties and the society, because now we are the society now, and we are the mothers and we are the aunties, the conversations that we have around our children, because I don't think anyone ever told me you must, but it's the conversation that used to happen around me that gave me that clock. So the people who are now 30 and below, the people who are now 40 and below, 50 and below, the conversations you have around our daughters really needs to change so that they don't have the same pressures on themselves as they approach 30. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really, really well put. Thank you so, so much. Now that we're talking about infertility, Dr. Rajesh, we know that infertility not only affects, because we're talking about women, but infertility affects both men and women. What are some of the causes of infertility in both sexes?
Yeah, so before answering what causes infertility, let's understand what leads to the normal pregnancy.
Okay.
So for the normal pregnancy to happen, there has to be a healthy egg to be released from the ovary.
Yes.
So there are three main organs, reproductive organs in women, which is the ovary, fallopian tube, and uterus.
Yes.
With cervix, and then there is a vagina.
Yeah.
Right? So the ovary job is to release healthy eggs.
Yes.
And the fallopian tube. So on the time of ovulation, when the eggs are released from the ovary, the sperm has to come to the fallopian tube at the site of the implantation.
Yes.
And the fallopian tube has to be healthy enough to pick the released egg from the ovary. So that sperm and egg gets fertilized there at the fallopian tube, and then there it gets fertilized, and there is a process of mitosis there in that fertilized egg, and it becomes a blastocyst.
Yes.
So that nurture is done by the fallopian tube, and then fallopian tube job is also to push back into the uterus for the implantation, and the uterus has to be healthy, the womb lining has to be healthy to get implanted there.
Yes.
So that's how a normal pregnancy is achieved. So any problem in these three organs can lead to the infertility. So let's just start with the ovary. So if there is a problem in ovulation, like in PCOS, or if there is a high prolactin level, then there can be a problem in ovulation. Or if there is a insufficiency of the ovary, where a woman has a very low egg at the early age, then that can also lead to infertility. Now, if there is a problem in fallopian tube, where it is not able to pick the healthy eggs released by the ovary, which can be because of the sexually transmitted infections, or most common is the gonorrhea and chlamydia, or if there is a previous surgery in the pelvic region, where it can lead to the scarring of the fallopian tube, or it can distort the relation between the fallopian tube and the ovary, and then the fallopian tube is not able to pick that egg. For any reason, there is a problem in the fallopian tube. Either it can lead to the blockage of the fallopian tube also. So that can lead to, that cannot permit the sperm to reach to the egg.
To get to the egg, yes.
So that's another cause. Now, in the uterus, whose function is to have the healthy pregnancy, if there is a big fibroid, which can impact the process of implantation, or even if there is implantation, it can lead to the miscarriage. Then adenomyosis, endometriosis, which can affect the uterine function or ovarian function, or if there is a polyp in any mass in the womb lining, that can affect the implantation process. Or if the uterus is genetically affected, like a septate uterus, it can lead to infertility or recurrent miscarriage. Or now the cervix, which is a gate for the uterus, if it is stenosed, then that is another reason for the infertility in women. Apart from that, this endometriosis is getting common now for the and age-related infertility, where the women, they plan for the pregnancy in the late 30s, when after there may be a fibroid development. With this fibroid adenomyosis, they get with age. These are all the reasons. Then hormonal reasons like PCOS or thyroid problem or any medical condition can also, certain medical condition can lead to infertility. For men, the most common cause of infertility is low sperm counts. Either the sperms are low in number, or the motility are affected. And this can be because of the environmental factor, or obesity, or smoking, or excessive alcohol consumptions. Then there are anatomical factors like the varicocele varicocele can happen with the time. The men are fertile in their 20s or early 30s, but after the varicocele, it can affect the sperm productions.
Yes.
So these are these are the more common cause, and sometimes even after there may not be any problem, but still there can be an infertility, which we call it as a unexplained infertility, and it accounts for 20 to 30% of the total infertility cases.
Okay.
The unexplained one.
Yeah.
Where there may not be any problem in men or women, but there can still be.
But it's just not happening.
Yeah,
You're not being able.
just
So
happening.
I like the way you've broken it down, and I think it's very important, especially for couples, if you're dealing with infertility, that both of you get checked. It is not a burden that's just for the woman. Like he has mentioned, there's low sperm count, low sperm mortality, etc. So thank you so much for that. I want to move on to you, Wangeshi, and then we'll get into some of the treatments that are available. You know, do you believe enough is being done to normalize conversations about infertility?
Wow, definitely not. There's a lot of shame that comes with it, and like you said, it's a woman's burden. Even when the issue is with the man or the health issues with the man, the women still carry a lot of the shame. I don't think enough is being done. I don't think there's enough, even experts online who actually speak to the woman, not speak to the womb. I don't know whether that makes sense.
It does, it does.
Yeah. Just people having general conversations. In fact, I think I only know one person who actively does talks about infertility. Even when you go to vikao za wanawake, as I call them, it's very rare to sit and find women discussing and saying, oh, this is going on with me, this is going on with me. When you go to the aunties in shags, it's very hard to have those conversations. But I would like to applaud myself, because that's a conversation I had, in fact, with my in-laws, even before I had it with my mother.
Yes.
And the reason I did that was because after I think I had my child, my first baby, but it was so that if their son gets married to somebody else, they don't create a thing around this woman where she feels like she's not good enough, because they do not think it's a thing that happens, or they don't understand that it's a thing that happens, or they don't even understand what can happen. So I did have a lot of talks with my aunties-in-laws about different things that cause infertility, and it's a conversation that I always try and have with them, because a lot of them have children my age and younger who now are still in the giving birth age. In terms of social media, I wish more people can have conversations about it. Even on TV, I wish more people can have conversations about it. And also, I'm so glad that you said that also men need to get checked. Because I also feel that men get checked a lot later. Like by the time, in my case, and I think a lot of women's cases, by the time the man's sperm is being checked, I have been medicated and medicated and medicated and checked and checked and checked and checked. Yet it's such a simple test. It's just a sperm check. And it's so simple versus me taking medication for 6 months or a year, and then you come back and say, oh, maybe we should check the man. But how much hormones have you pumped into this woman? How much invasion, how bad has she felt about herself? Versus after you've done an ultrasound and you've seen this is a problem, just check and see, oh, can there be a problem with both of them, so that both of them are sorted at the beginning.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Doctor, I want to come back to you, because we actually, on this particular show, we've had an opportunity when we're talking infertility, because we like to push that conversation. We've talked about adoption, we've talked about surrogacy. One area that is very common and getting more common in Kenya is the IVF treatments, which of course you're a specialist in. So for many, IVF normally feels like a mystery. Can you walk us through the IVF process, in very simple terms?
So IVF is a part of the treatment of infertility, but not solely the part of the treatment only. Before IVF, a couple should be evaluated for the cause of infertility, and if it can be sorted out with medicine or IUI, it can be done with that, right? But out of the 10 couple who are experiencing infertility, 20 or 30% will need IVF, but that will depend on the age group and other factor. So most of the patient who comes to the fertility point, which is a tertiary kind of service there, most of them are referred after being already treated by the local gynecologist. So most of them, they come for the IVF,
Yes.
referred as for the IVF treatment. So we do a pre-IVF evaluations with a blood test and ultrasound and a semen analysis for the husband. And after doing all these things, then we give a short time of pre-IVF medicine to boost up the eggs and sperms. And we call them for the on second or third day of their period for the start of the
Yes.
IVF. So before that, we give them a counseling, financial counseling for the process and how the process goes through. That counseling is given. So once the patient is there in the clinic at second day or third day of their period, we start the IVF injections after doing scans. In scans, we see how many eggs are likely to be retrieved. And depending on those blood tests and the scan, we adjust the IVF injection dose.
Yes, yeah.
And roughly it goes for the 10 days of injections, plus minus 1 days. And in between those 10 days, she has to come for scans for follicular monitoring for twice or thrice. And then once the follicles are ready, we give a final trigger so that to mature the egg. And after 36 hours of the final injections, we retrieve the egg.
Yes.
Through a small procedure called ovum pickup. And it is done under the anesthesia. Roughly it takes like 10 to 20 minutes of the procedure. And after the procedure, we collect the husband's semen. That semen is processed. And then that sperm is loaded in a needle, fine needle, and then that is injected into the mature egg.
Yes.
Mature egg.
Yeah.
And then after the injection, that egg is put in the incubator for further process, and that eggs are being monitored by the embryologist in the lab for the next 3 to 5 days, and where the embryologist will check whether the eggs has been fertilized or not, and how is the growth of the embryo. So after the egg pickup is done, the patient is discharged on the same day after 2 to 3 hours, and called after 3 to 5 days for the embryo transfer process. So either we do the embryo transfer on the same cycle, or we freeze it depending on the medical condition. And once the embryo transfer is done, generally we transfer 2 to 3 embryos, and she is put on the medicine to support the pregnancy. And after 2 weeks of the medicine, she is called for the pregnancy test.
Yes.
So once the pregnancy test is positive, we further support the pregnancy. Till the heart, and then we call after 3 weeks to document the heartbeat and the number of pregnancies.
Yes.
So, and any extra embryos that are created apart from that transferred, we freeze it in a liquid nitrogen. So that can be used for the second time transfer or for the second baby.
Okay. Wow, thank you so much for explaining. At least now we have a general understanding of how IVF treatment works, yeah? Now, what is the success rate for IVF treatments for the 4 years that you have been in the country? I know you did mention doing about 1,500 IVF babies you brought to this world. But what is the success rate? How many were successful? How many were not successful? You know, no figures needed, but just give me a glimpse into your world.
Yeah, so on an average, the success rate is between 50 to 60%.
Okay.
Now this depends on the medical conditions as well. Younger the age of the egg, the better the chances of pregnancy. When we do IVF in below 30s, the chances of pregnancies are really high.
Yes.
If there is no other medical condition associated, like if there are fibroids which can affect the implantation or adenomyosis or any polyp, we need to clear that first. And after that, if everything is okay, chances are good. That's around 50 to 70%. That depends on the age of the egg and the sperm quality.
Yes.
But if a couple tries the pregnancy IVF in their 40s, the chances are low. It's somewhere between 15 to 20%.
Oh, wow.
Between 40 to 43. After 43, with self-egg IVF, chances are pretty low, and we do not encourage self-egg IVF after the age of 43, 44.
So now you're just talking about self-egg. Does that mean that there are situations where you get eggs donated?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So the success chances depends on the quality of the egg, and that's why when this IVF is a bit expensive, and it's quite financially draining and emotionally draining as well. So if they are ready to go for the second IVF, then she can consider trying self-egg, because every woman wishes to have their own genetically
of course,
egg.
yeah.
So and let them try their luck, but we explain them the prognosis, and it's up to them to choose. But if they have financially just enough for one pregnancy, it's wise to consider donor egg.
Consider donor egg. Wow. I mean, I'm definitely learning so much more about IVF that I did not know. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back for the question and answer session. Don't go far away. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you have missed quite an engaging and very informative first session. But fear not, because all the Dadas Show episodes can be found on YouTube under the KBC Channel 1 page. Remember to like, remember to follow, and remember to subscribe. And we definitely look forward to your feedback on that platform, or on Facebook, or on any other, across all social media platforms. Remember, the conversation of the day is the silent struggles breaking the infertility stigma. And we've had a wonderful first session, but now it's time for us to hear from our wonderful audience. So to start us off, we've got Mr. Frederick, who is part of our audience, who will tell us a little bit about today's topic and the role that he actually plays in all of this. Karibu sana Bwana Frederick.
My name is Frederick Meso, andrologist, and the main work of andrologist is to conduct semen analysis, semen freezing, and also semen preparation for IUI and IVF process. So for the semen analysis, we normally consider micro and macro, whereby in macroscopic, we have to consider the volume, the color of the sperm, of the semen that has been collected. Then in the micro, we have to consider sperm count, motility, and then morphology of the sperm. Yeah. Now for the sperm count, a normal sperm count has to range from 14 million or 15 million per ml. And then for motility is just the movement of the sperm, a rapid sperm movement, slow, sluggish, and then immotile sperms. So you have to do the average of those rapid, slow, and non-motile, so that to get the final motility. Then the final motility, the normal sperm motility has to be at least 30%. From 100, at least you have to get 30% motile.
Yeah.
That is now when we consider normal motility. Then for morphology, just as I said, appearance of the sperm from head, mid-piece to tail. So it has to be at least 4%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's very, very interesting information. And Doc, could you kindly clarify the importance of all of this, of semen health and the mortality and the color and all of that? What is the importance of this in terms of infertility and also in terms of IVF?
Yeah, to summarize what he said, when men goes for the semen analysis, and there are certain parameters that as a fertility specialist we look for. which includes the volume of the semen, which is said is 1.5 ml. And below that can lead to infertility. And when we encounter such information, the volume less than 1.5, then we look for the reason as well why it has gone below that. Whether it is because of the frequent ejaculation, after every frequent ejaculation the volume gets low, or whether it is because of prostate problem or any gland problem. Then we see the count, the number of sperms there. So per ml it should be 15 million as per the WHO, and per ejaculate it should be at least 39 million. So if the count is low, again we look for the reason, whether it is because of the varicocele or any environmental factor or any hormonal factor. And then we ask for the, accordingly we see what is the reason, but after doing certain tests.
Yes.
Then we see the motility, whether the motility, how is the motility. Out of the 100 sperm there, at least there should be 32 sperm which should be progressive and forward moving. Because when the semen is deposited in the upper vagina, it has to travel to the fallopian tube at the site of the implantation. So the sperm should be motile, not only motile, it should be forward.
Yes.
It should not be just keeping around, moving around, which is still motile but not gaining a length.
Yes.
Right? So it should be forward motility, progressively forward. Then we look for the morphology. How is the morphology? So out of 100 sperm, there should be at least 4 sperm which should have a normal tail and normal head and neck.
Okay.
So when these parameters are met, then we say that the sperms are normal. So the implication is, if the sperms are okay, and if the female side, the test, all the other tests, including the fallopian tube assessment and uterine assessment is okay, there is no reason for infertility in male and female, then we term it as an unexplained infertility. So we give the advice accordingly, either to go ahead with the IUI or after failed IUI to IVF. So this is with the normal sperm.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, if the sperm count are intermediary, like the count is like 10 million, around 10 million, and motility is a bit compromised, then that sperm needs some boosting, either by the medicine, and if that doesn't work over the time, and if the female partner assessment is okay, fallopian tube is okay, and ovulation is happening, then we advise for the IUI, intrauterine insemination, where at the time of ovulation of wife, we collect the husband semen, which is compromised already in terms of count and motility, and we do a washing, where the sperm, we concentrate the sperm by washing it, and the motility is enhanced, and that washed sperm is inseminated into the uterus directly. So the sperm doesn't has to negotiate the upper vagina and the cervix, and so it gains the certain advantage. So, and if this count is less than 5 million, then a natural pregnancy or a pregnancy by IUI is not possible. It's not possible. It's not possible. And first we look for the reason why it is less count or motility. If it is because of varicocele, then it can be corrected, and over the time it can be improved, the semen count can be improved. But if there is no any such reason, and then we advise for the IVF. So this is the implication of getting the count and the morphology and the motility of the semen. Right? Yeah. So the male infertility is the count. Sometimes we see that the husbands they are fertile 5 or 6 years back. Now the sperm count is compromised.
Yes.
So over the time this happens because of the environmental factor, smoking habits, and the obesity. So if these are the factors, then we advise them to correct these factors.
Okay.
Over the time, the semen count can get improved.
Okay, thank you so much for clarification of that. And of course, it even goes further to show that definitely when we're coming to dealing with infertility, then both partners in the couple should definitely be looked at. So more and more, we are breaking the stigma that makes this a woman problem. So thank you so much for that. We're going to move on to our next question of the day, which is from Dr. Faith.
Thank you to the panelists for the good conversation. My name is Faith. I'm a medical doctor by profession. My question is directed towards Dr. Rajesh. So, Doc, what should a couple know when they are planning to pursue IVF, either with self-egg or donated eggs?
There are 4 factors before pursuing the IVF treatment, and one should always do a basic research about the procedure they want to go ahead. The medical consideration, the financial aspect, the emotional consideration, and the legal aspect. So the medical, for the medical, what you one should research is, am I going to a right clinic? Is it a clinic which is established for a long time? How advanced is the lab? And how good are the doctors? What are the feedback about the clinic, the success rates? And they should go and inquire, consult the doctor. And first they should know whether the diagnosis is right, whether they really need a IVF and a donor egg. And if it is required, then they should give a serious thought about that, because many times what we see, we after doing the test, we advise them to go for IVF or for third-party reproduction like donor egg, and then they deny. Because sometimes they feel offended when we advise them for donor egg. And then if the reason is for the advances, like if they are coming at, sometimes they come at the age of 47 or 48 when menopause is already there, and then they request for the self-egg IVF. And then when we advise them to go for the donor egg IVF, they feel they're not given right advice, and then they go to another, and then they come back again that after failing IVF there. So that consideration should be there, whether the advice is right or not. That's one should have enough research by themselves. In the age of this social media and the internet, you can have enough education yourself. So you should go and see a doctor and clinic, visit the facility, inquire about the success rates there. There can be social media groups there which you can take a help of that, about the feedbacks. So you should know what is the diagnosis, why you need IVF, whether it is because of the low egg count or endometriosis or fibroid or blocked fallopian tube or for the male factors, right? Then the financial aspect, you should be ready financially to sponsor the treatment, and you need to meet the financial team. We have at the Fertility Point the financial counseling department, where we advise them how to what would be the cost implications, and if we are very lenient on giving the discounts and offering the EMIs as well. That financial aspect is so that you are ready at the time of the IVF.
Yes. And
also you should know from the doctor what is the chance of success. Whether as you at the best of the age, the chances is 50 to 70%. So there may be possible that the IVF that is carried out may be failed, and you may need a second IVF or embryo transfer. So that financial also you have to get ready about for psychologically you have to get ready about that failure as well. And for all this process, because this is financially draining and emotionally draining, so you have to be emotionally ready as well. So for that you have to take help of your peer group. There are certain group in the social media which can help you, some like sharing the experience. So someone gets heartbroken. Obviously it is heartbroken when the first IVF is failed and then they give up the treatment, right? So to prevent that, one need to understand that IVF is not a sure shot in the very first hand. And if it is treated in the right direction, then it can, the success is there either in the first or second or even third attempt, right? Yeah. So that all depends how the treatment direction goes. If you need a donor egg and if you go for the self egg, the chances of failure is obvious. So emotionally readiness should be there, financially readiness should be there, and the medical opinion.
Yes.
So one should seek a medical opinion at the right place.
At the right
Yeah.
place. Okay. Thank you so much for that. So definitely, if you're a couple and you're considering IVF, definitely be able to look out at those particular factors that Dr. has very well outlined before you start this journey. So we'll move on to our next question, and our next question is from Bilha. Bilha, karibu sana.
Thank you, panelists, for a great discussion. This is very motivating and encouraging. My name is Bilha Gitau, and I have two questions for Dr. Rajesh. First, I wanted to ask about affordability, because we know IVF, it's very, very expensive, and most infertility also has affected people who, you know, they're middle class or those who are not able to afford IVF. So I wanted to know if, do you at Fertility Point, do you have any insurances or do you have any payment plan for IVF or IUI? Then my second question is, I wanted to know where you're located, Fertility Point, and do you have any other branches in Kenya or outside the country?
That's good questions. You know, many couple, they delay their IVF treatment because of the financial problems, and affordability is a big challenge, as IVF is a expensive procedure, and then there is no guarantee of the success as well. So it makes the journey more painful and financially more draining. So what one should consider is selection of the clinic is important, because if you have to go through the IVF process twice or thrice because of the say poor management, then it becomes more expensive. Yeah. But when you do the IVF process in a center where the lab is advanced with a skilled doctor, and the chances of getting pregnancy is high, so in place of doing IVF thrice, and it can get the success in one time, so that cost is, the future cost is prevented. Regarding the cost, the financial aspect, roughly it costs around 0.5 to 0.8 million, depending on the type of the IVF, whether it is a donor IVF or self-egg IVF and the use of the injections. Here at Fertility Point, we offer them, apart from the discount when we see during the financial counseling, we see how much they can afford, and we generally offer them a discount up to 10 to 20%. And we also offer them EMI, where we are attached to a form, and then they go to the form there and then discuss further, and depending on the credential, they are offered the IVF treatment. They bear the cost, right, at a very negligible interest rate of, I think, of 4 to 5%, right? And then previously, when I joined Fertility Point back in 2021, there was only 1 or 2 insurance company attached to us. But we did a very aggressive advocacy about the IVF when we experienced that the couples are experiencing the financial problem. Then we had advocacy, and then currently we have more than 15 insurance companies who are sponsoring the IVF treatment. Okay. So right now, almost 50% more than 50% of our IVF are through these insurance companies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Previously, it was just 20 to 30%. Now this has gone to almost 60%. So out of 100 IVF we do, 60 IVF are through this insurance.
Yes.
So what is my message to the couple? So you will never know when this problem will strike to your life. So it's better if you go and attach to these insurance companies early, so that if this problem are really faced, so this insurance are almost there in your hand. Because this problem is almost 1 in 6 couple.
So you've got this particular clinic where you're hosting us. Where other locations?
Yeah. So apart from the Forty Suite, which has been there since 2018, we are here at Parkland now. We are located here. We do the basic infertility management here, along with we do the stimulations, and we are there in Kisumu, in United Mall. which has been operated from last 1 year, and the upcoming is in the Mombasa.
Excellent. So definitely, if you're a couple who would definitely want to get services, you know where to find them. So our final question of the day, this is from Molly. Molly, karibu sana.
Thank you so much, panelists, and thank you so much for this opportunity and for the great discussion. My name is Molly, I'm a student, and my question goes to Wangeshi. How did this whole issue of infertility affect your mental health?
So how it affected my mental health, it was actually quite draining, emotionally and mentally. And you don't understand the toll it takes, I think, until you're completely out of it. And now you have the gift of hindsight, because you see when you're right in the middle of the melee, you really don't understand the toll. But it was very difficult. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, especially when I'd see the period, it would be so devastating. Like, there are times I have cried in the bathroom, there are times I have cried in the shower, there are times I've cried on the bathroom floor, just wondering, you know, God, like, what is this? Like, why would this be happening to me? And then also, it actually, for me, it used to take a toll on my marriage as well, because I'd become very, basically just the toll it takes on you, you know, become quite volatile, because it's all very emotionally draining, it's all very mentally draining. And then now when it comes to the time when now I'm supposed to know, like during the fertile period, you're testing, you're taking drugs, day 1 to 7 you have to take these drugs, this other CG concussion that you're taking, there's this other thing that you're adding to water, like there's so many things happening. And then now there's now the time coming towards ovulation, and in your mind you're thinking, is this the month? Like, it's just really a lot.
Yeah.
It's really just a lot. And then you really can't share with anyone else, because even your husband really cannot understand. Because he'd try and be there, but I think there are things that only a person going through them at that point will understand. Because somebody who's gotten out of it now has the gift of it'll be okay. But you who's right there in the darkness of it, it's also very lonely. Because again, you really don't feel like you can share with anyone. How I dealt with it, one, with time I learned to disassociate myself, Wangeshi, from my womb. That I am not the problem. Wangeshi is not the problem. I'm having a fertility issue. It's not a Wangeshi issue. So not owning the problem and not owning the shame, and there's really no, in fact, when I really let go of the shame, I really felt very empowered. And that way is even have been able to talk to other people about it. Secondly, at some point also I started therapy. It was not therapy for this, but because a therapist, you know, when you're talking to them, you're talking about a lot of things.
Of course. I
realized that the second time I was going through it, it was actually a lot easier on me emotionally and mentally, because I had the therapist to work with me. So in as much as she was not in the deep of the darkness with me at that point, being able to talk about my feelings, being able to understand that this and name the feeling and then disassociate myself from, actually I think that's when I learned how to disassociate myself from my womb. It actually really helped. And now also talking to other moms who are going through that exact thing at that time also helped. But also to any mom who's going through it at this moment, I think what I would like to tell them is that you're not alone. Oftentimes it really feels like you're alone, but you're definitely not alone. There's a lot of women going through it. It's just that people don't talk about it, but you're not alone. And in as much as your spouse is not able to understand completely how you feel, it's also really important not to go through the emotions by yourself, because if you lock yourself, you become almost like a volcano that's waiting to erupt. But if you lean into the support systems around you with the help that they can offer, so there's things you can tell your husband that he'll give you a hug, and there are things that you can call your girlfriend, and the way they'll talk to you is different from how your husband will talk to you. So it's very important to also identify who to talk to about what, because it doesn't mean that he does not understand you, or he lacks empathy, or she does not understand you and she lacks empathy. Different people just process things differently. So as you go through this, it's also important to get to know who in your support system can support you based on how you're feeling today and the support that you need today, and also based on now the journey that you're walking, who can walk with you or run the marathon with you, because it's really not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yes.
Secondly, therapy is such an important thing. And lastly, and most importantly, for me, I've always talked about my life. Jesus and therapy is everything. Just being able to lean into my spirituality and being able to know that through all things, God is working it all out for my good also really helps me through it. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. I mean, definitely encouraging words. What about you, Dr. Rajesh? What is your parting shot? What piece of advice would you give a couple who is watching and they are suspecting that perhaps they are dealing with infertility, but they're too afraid to ask? Kindly.
The only solution of the problem is getting treated, getting consultation and proper advice from the doctor, and considering for the treatment as early as possible, not only for those who are experiencing infertility, for those who are entering into the family life or planning to have a baby. First, they should at least go to the screening about fertility screening, whether they are having a problem or not. Otherwise, they will keep on hoping and trying or delaying for social reason or for any career reason. And then when they plan for the baby, then it's not then working. So it's better to have a screen first, even if you are planning for baby right now or not. And if you see that everything is okay, then you go ahead as you are planning to go ahead in your career or life. But do not delay your pregnancy for the career or for any other reason. Get a baby in your 20s, at least in late 20s or early in your 30s. And then that's the key message. Apart from that, if you ever need, you may not be knowing whether you will be in need of IVF treatment or not. Get a screen first, and if you see that there could be a problem, get insurance, get cover, get insurance cover.
Okay. So the plan is to forward plan ahead. I don't know what the feminists will say when you're talking about get your children early, but I definitely see where you're coming from all the things that have been outlined in our conversation today. The egg quality, all the things that some of the problematic areas that happen to us women as we are starting to get older. So we've definitely come to the end of today's very, very insightful conversation. Remember to get in touch with us across all social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on Facebook, at Dadas Show KBC, and personally at Ashiko the host across all social media platforms. Tell us what you think about this conversation that we've had today and any other conversation that we have had. What areas should we touch on? What should we explore? What other conversations should we have? And of course, if you'd like to be part of this particular production, please feel free to reach out to us. So on behalf of the production team at KBC, our wonderful, wonderful host, Fertility Point Parklands, myself, Ashiko Mbune, I wish you all a lovely, compassionate and caring week. Let's love each other. Let's take care of each other. And until next time, bye-bye.